So today I'm travelling to Madrid for 5 days on business. It's a mixture of presentations, meetings and workshops, some of which are recorded. I'm also hoping to record some videos for this channel and others, and it's a great example of one of my use cases, carrying stills and video equipment as part of an overseas trip alongside other equipment. I'm going carry-on only, so space and weight is at a premium. So I'm taking my Z7 with the 2470 f2.8 and the 1430 f4. I can't carry a full tripod, so I'm going to take my heavyweight gorilla pod with me. So I thought it was a good opportunity to do a quick video on my thoughts 3 months after switching to the Nikon Z series mirrorless cameras, some of the pros, some of the cons, and some of the things I've learnt along the way. Hi there, I've been using the Z7 now for about 3 months, and I thought it was worth just giving you a quick update on how I've been getting on with it, some of the challenges and some of the things I've learnt about it. If you saw my video, Has Nikon Reached a Tipping Point with their Z series cameras, and I'll put a link above, you'll know that up until 3 months ago I was a very happy Nikon D850 user. However, after watching the Z series mirrorless cameras for about 6 months and looking at the reviews and seeing how people are getting on with them and spending some time with some Nikon experts, I decided to make the switch to a Z7 from my D850. As I said in the video, I always accepted there was going to be a transition from a DSLR to a mirrorless camera. There are some nuances and some tweaks I would need to make to the way I use the camera. So over the 3 months, I've moved from shooting predominantly stills, probably about 90% stills and 10% video, to probably 60% video and 40% stills. And that's partly a conscious move because I wanted to upskill in the area of video presentation and video production. But my ability to do that has been unlocked by the Z series camera's capabilities in the video area, which I've been really impressed with. And that's without losing the capabilities in the area of stills photography. As you know from this channel, I use a mixture of Z6 for video capture predominantly and a Z7 for stills capture predominantly. Although on trips like this, I'm here in Madrid this weekend, I've just bought the Z7 and I'm using it for both stills and video, which is again that hybrid nature, which is really beneficial. If I'm honest, most of the challenges I've come up against have been about me changing my style as I've moved to a mirrorless system and also up my skills in the area of video creation and production, and they have much further to go. There have been very few occasions when I found myself battling with the camera or the menu system. It's mainly been about my skill set and how I use the camera that has been that transition. I'll talk a bit later about some of the areas I've had to challenge myself in, but things like the autofocus system and using the LCD more as a couple of examples. So let's look at the positives of the new Z series mirrorless cameras. And in relation to camera gear, that's often about size, weight and functionality. From my experience, the Z series cameras are a paradigm shift in that trade-off between size, weight and functionality. They've got the capabilities of the D850, but they're enhanced, particularly in that hybrid space around video. And marry that up with the benefit in size and weight, which means I can actually carry more or travel lighter. If I'm carrying more, it means I can use that hybrid functionality because I can take audio gear with me, I can take a different selection of lenses. So it's a real benefit for me. Most of the focus has been on the Z series bodies, the Z6 and the Z7. However, one of the things that tipped me over the decision point was when I got to play with some of the lenses. I soon realised that the quality of the Z series lenses, both in terms of size, weight, noise and IQ, was significantly better. And when you marry that up with the in-body image stabilisation and the customisation options with the new lenses, they're just superb. In terms of usability, things like the EVF and the ability to have your histogram in the EVF is really useful. Having exposure compensation on the lens ring, equally, marry those two up and you get a winning combination. And then you get the what you see is what you get approach of mirrorless cameras, which really makes long exposure photography, for example, much simpler. But it's not all positives. There are a few niggles. They are just niggles, they're not massive negatives, but maybe in future generations Nikon will just tweak a few of these and smooth off the edges on the camera and make it even better. The first one that really annoys me is a really simple one. It's the card slot cover. I find that every time I go to pull it out of my bag, it opens the card slot, which is really quite annoying. The second one is when I'm doing video production, and if I'm checking the video I've taken on the LCD, I have to remember to push a button to take it out of LCD before I hit record. On a few occasions I've gone straight from looking at the LCD screen, I've pressed the record button and thought it was recording, and it's not. And that's really quite annoying. So being able to adjust that and customize that might be a really useful step forward. A couple more that are a bit more significant. The autofocus, on one occasion, it's only one occasion in 3 months, the autofocus really struggled to capture. I was in a low light situation doing natural light portraiture, so there was very low contrast, and it just really struggled to capture, so I had to use the exposure compensation to let more light into the lens. It then caught the focus point and I could then readjust it. So it's not the end of the world, and I believe it may be that in the firmware release that's coming out this week, Nikon may be tweaking the low light autofocus capabilities, which will be great. And then the final one, it was really the FTZ adapter and the tripod point. It's just really annoying that you have to take off any Arca Swiss base plates to put on an F-mount lens using the FTZ adapter. Small points, but you know, they really could have been designed out, I'm sure, and will be designed out in future releases. So all pretty minor, and definitely niggles rather than negatives. I've been using SnapBridge quite a lot, and whilst you can control a lot of the stills functionality through SnapBridge, in video it's really limited to starting and stopping recording, which is an area for development, an opportunity for Nikon. So what am I doing differently? Well, the first area is really autofocus. On the D850, I tended to shoot in with single point focus, and because the focus points were relatively grouped in the centre, if I wanted to focus on something that was out near the edge of the scene, I had to focus and then recompose. Well, on the mirrorless camera, because the autofocus points go pretty much to the edge of the sensor, you can think differently. And I've now been using continuous autofocus in the various modes for 99% of what I'm doing. Particularly in video, the autofocus is phenomenal and the face detect works really well. The second area is really trying to use the LCD more than the viewfinder. Whilst the EVF's really good, actually moving your focus point around is much easier on the LCD, for example, rather than using the thumbstick. One area of functionality that I'm using quite a lot though, particularly with stills photography, is getting the histogram in the EVF and using that combined with the exposure compensation on the lens ring. I'll put a link above to where I show you how you can set that up, but it's a really good way of being able to quickly compose and get the settings right and use that, what you see is what you get, capability of the mirrorless camera. So in summary, I'm really happy with my switch to a mirrorless system, and in particular the Nikon Z series. Hopefully this has given you some insights into my experiences. So perhaps if you're thinking about switching from a DSLR to a mirrorless, or if you're challenging yourself, when I switch to a mirrorless, do I keep my DSLR in parallel? Hopefully it's been useful in helping you move towards your decision point and whatever is right for you. As I've said, I'm really happy with my switch. It's really unlocked my ability to shoot stills and video all using the same camera bodies, and therefore having that efficiency of carrying the same lenses and possibly even using the same body as I am here in Madrid. It's also forced me to look at how I use the cameras and actually get the manual out and just think about what functionality is there in the cameras that I'm not using or haven't been using because I've got into bad habits or just not habitually got into using it. And I'll put a link above to my 2-minute tips, which hopefully a number of you are finding quite useful, but it just allows you to challenge yourself to think, am I using all the functionality that I'm getting in these modern mirrorless cameras? I hope you found this video useful. If you did, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell to be notified of future videos, and use the comments below to let me know how you're getting on with your decision point. Where are you in a transition to mirrorless, or perhaps unlocking hybrid capabilities of your mirrorless cameras? It'd be great to hear your experiences, and I'll see you soon on future videos.